Canada, a nation known for its vast natural beauty, multiculturalism, and reputation for peacekeeping. It's one of the world's most respected countries. But there's something often debated. Has Canada missed its chance to become a true world leader? Despite its potential, Canada has often remained in the background of global affairs, playing a supportive role rather than taking the lead. Today, we're diving into the reasons why Canada may have missed key opportunities to assert itself on the world stage. To understand why, let's start with foreign policy. Canada's approach to global issues has often been one of caution and diplomacy rather than bold action. While this has earned the country a reputation as a peacekeeping nation, it has also meant that Canada hesitates to take strong stances in international conflicts or assert itself in global governance. For example, in times of major international crises, Canada has often opted for diplomatic resolutions rather than stepping in with decisive action. This reluctance, combined with a tendency to avoid controversial positions, has limited Canada's ability to lead in global decision-making. A clear example of this hesitation can be seen in Canada's involvement in international organizations. While Canada has been an active participant in groups like the United Nations, NATO, and the G7, it hasn't always used these platforms to drive global agendas. Instead, Canada often plays a more supportive role, offering input, but rarely taking the lead on contentious or high-stakes issues. This cautious approach has helped Canada maintain a peaceful image, but it has also meant missing opportunities to influence global events at critical moments. Now let's talk about Canada's military presence. Unlike other potential world leaders, Canada maintains a relatively small military force. This isn't surprising given the country's pacifist leanings, but it has constrained Canada's ability to assert leadership in global security matters. Countries like the United States, Russia, and China project power through their military capabilities. But Canada has focused its resources elsewhere, although Canada participates in international alliances, like NATO and United Nations peacekeeping missions. Its reduced military spending and capacity have led to a more diminished role in international defense. And then, there's the economic aspect. Canada's economy is large and developed, but it's also highly dependent on the United States. Over 70% of Canada's exports go to its southern neighbor, making the country vulnerable to shifts in US policy and markets. This deep economic reliance has made Canada focus heavily on bilateral relations with the United States, sometimes at the expense of broader global engagement. While Canada has struck trade deals with Europe and the Pacific, it hasn't fully expanded its economic influence worldwide. By focusing so much on the North American market, Canada has missed opportunities to become a major player in international trade or to establish stronger economic ties in emerging regions like Asia and Africa. Let's not forget about climate change. Given Canada's vast natural resources and its global reputation as a progressive nation, one might expect Canada to be a world leader in the fight against climate change. But here too, Canada has been criticized for inconsistency. Although successive Canadian governments have pledged to tackle environmental issues, Canada remains one of the largest oil producers in the world, particularly through the extraction of oil from Alberta's oil sands. This reliance on oil exports has hindered the country's ability to take a decisive leadership role on global environmental policy. While Canada is seen as an advocate for climate change action, its domestic policies have sometimes clashed with this image, limiting its effectiveness as a global leader in sustainability. In fact, the global community often looks to countries like Norway or Germany for leadership in green energy and environmental policies, while Canada remains somewhat stuck in the middle, trying to balance economic reliance on oil with the need to reduce its carbon footprint. It's a tough balancing act, but one that has held Canada back from fully embracing the mantle of environmental leadership. One of Canada's strongest assets on the global stage is its soft power. The country's multiculturalism, commitment to human rights, and peaceful image have made it a respected player internationally. However, even here, Canada hasn't fully capitalized on its strengths. Canada has the potential to shape global narratives, especially in areas like peacebuilding, education, and health. But these efforts are often overshadowed by larger, more assertive countries. While Canada's soft power remains influential, it hasn't been fully leveraged to drive major global initiatives or lead international coalitions. Another factor in Canada's missed leadership opportunities is its geographical location. While geography doesn't always determine a country's role in global affairs, it does play a part. Canada is somewhat isolated from many of the world's geopolitical hotspots. Unlike European nations that are close to conflict zones in the Middle East or Asia-Pacific countries that are near China, Canada is geographically removed from many global flashpoints. This has limited its involvement in key geopolitical crises and has often made Canada more peripheral to major international discussions. For example, when it comes to addressing conflicts in regions like the Middle East or the South China Sea, Canada has taken a back seat to countries that are more directly involved or affected. Without a pressing geographical stake in these areas, Canada's involvement has been more about diplomacy and less about direct action. This distance has reduced Canada's influence in areas where leadership and intervention are most needed. One area where Canada's influence could be more pronounced is in regional organizations. Canada has been active in the Arctic Council and works closely with the US and Europe on northern issues, but again, it has not taken full advantage of its position in the Arctic. As climate change opens up new shipping routes and access to resources in the Arctic, Canada could play a more assertive role in shaping the future of this strategic region. But so far, its leadership here has been limited. Now, all of this is not to say that Canada hasn't made significant contributions on the world stage. Canada has been a leading voice on issues like refugee resettlement, gender equality, and international development. Its humanitarian efforts, particularly in times of global crisis, have earned it admiration and respect worldwide. But these contributions, while valuable, have not been enough to elevate Canada into the ranks of global leaders like the US, China, or Germany. To become a true world leader, Canada would need to adopt a more assertive approach to global challenges. This might mean rethinking its foreign policy to take stronger positions on international conflicts, increasing its military and economic presence, or leading the charge on climate action with more decisive policies. Canada's missed opportunities have not been due to a lack of capability, but rather a reluctance to step out of its comfort zone as a middle power. In the end, Canada remains a highly respected and influential country, but it has often chosen to play a supporting role in global affairs rather than leading from the front. With its stable democracy, diverse society, and economic potential, Canada has all the ingredients to become a major global leader. The question is whether it will seize the next opportunity to step up or continue to take a back seat in world affairs. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more insights into global politics and international affairs. See you next time.